Welcome to the Football Draft podcast. You're here with James and Ben on a lovely Wednesday, episode number 3.
Wait, hold on a second. It's not Wednesday.
Ben, I know it's not a Wednesday. It's Monday, like 1 a.m. because we've been sat here trying to do the intro for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Anyways, episode 3. Who would have thought we could make it this far?
Yeah, 10 subscribers as well.
I know, we need to do some sort of giveaway.
Do you know what we can give away?
No? Have you got an idea?
Yeah, my laptop, because it's broken.
What's wrong with your laptop?
The keyboard doesn't work anymore. The trackpad doesn't work anymore.
Well, one lucky subscriber could get on hold of that.
Just feel free to get in touch, I guess. Okay, let's dive straight into the first set of Premier League matches. I feel like we're just repeating ourselves. Alisson with another howler again this week.
Yep, again he's here costing Liverpool points. I thought he would have learned from his mistakes last week, but here he is again, making another big mistake and throwing points away for Liverpool.
That young guy, the new signing, Kabak, is it? Getting scapegoated, which is a shame because I don't think it's his fault.
I would agree. I don't think it's his fault either. It was a bit unfair on the lad because it's making his debut, first Premier League game. And then I think he's just doing his job, running back, trying to win the ball, intercept the long ball over the top. And then out of nowhere, you see Alisson charging out. There's no way that it's his fault at all.
His head's not in the right place for sure. I mean, Klopp looks devastated in the post-match interview. Did you see?
Yeah, I saw. He seems to be very down at the moment, and then that's where he officially stated that he's conceding the title. So he's saying himself, there's no chance Liverpool getting the title back this year.
Dude, he looked like he was crying.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with him. I mean, there was sad news throughout the week about his mother, so maybe he's just not in the right mindset at the moment. I mean, maybe he does need a break. He's trying to say he doesn't, but he seems to be in a very rough place. Do you think he might need a break away for a little bit?
There's no way a guy like Klopp is going to ask for a break, let's be honest anyway. I think that's out of the conversation. But that's them out of the title race, in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, they seem to be losing the games when they really matter. Like the game against City last weekend, they needed to make a statement. And then this weekend, they needed to get back to winning ways. But it seems to be Alisson that's costing them the points. Because in terms of the game again, we said the same last week. I don't think Liverpool played that badly to lose the game. But it just seemed to be mistakes by Alisson that seems to have cost them. Would you agree?
I was watching Arsene Wenger's tactical analysis on BN Sports actually on Liverpool, and he was saying the reason why they're not performing as well is because the main reason they've not got a recognised centre back, well, apart from the new guy Kabak. But what happened was moving Henderson into centre back, they lost control of the midfield, and Thiago still doesn't look like he's settled into the Premier League yet. And Liverpool's main threat was their ability to get the passes from midfield to their front three in a really quick time, and they can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I didn't see Wenger talk about that, but I think I heard someone else say, I can't remember who, but it does seem to be that when they can't have Henderson in that midfield, the midfield just seems to lose every battle that they're in. Having him back in centre back seems to really prohibit their play ability to go from defence to attack in a quick matter. Because I think with Thiago, like you said, not settling in, they just seem to be a bit lost in the midfield. And myself, if I was Jurgen Klopp, even against Leicester, I would have played the new guy, obviously, that played, but then I would have risked it and maybe played Reece Williams, the other young centre back they have, just so you can get Henderson in the midfield, because I think he's very crucial. And he was one of the main reasons that Liverpool probably won the league last year, but he doesn't get the recognition due to players like Salah and Mane and Firmino just running away with it at the top end. But I do think Henderson's probably maybe even the most important player at Liverpool, would you say?
I think so. I think he's one of the most underrated captains in Premier League history. People keep comparing him to the likes of Roy Keane or Vieira, players who captained title-winning sides, but they don't understand how important Henderson is to Liverpool in that midfield. But all respect to Leicester though, and Jamie Vardy, they capitalised on their opportunities.
Yeah, they showed their clinical state with Maddison, Vardy, Harvey Barnes all getting on the score sheet, and Vardy just showing his real striker nature in him by capitalising on the mistake by Allison getting onto the ball as soon as he saw the keeper charging out. Harvey Barnes, who I think is going to be a huge player in a few years. I think he could get a big move to one of the bigger clubs. I know Leicester are now making a name for themselves in the top four even, but I still think he can get a move to a team like United, Liverpool, City even. I think they are good at taking their chances when they come, because they're all raring to go, and Brendan Rodgers does set up his team perfectly for these types of games to counter or take these chances when they present themselves.
If I was a Leicester player, I'd stay. They're building something special there. If Brendan stays, I'm staying.
Yeah, I would say that Brendan Rodgers is a huge factor to Leicester's success. Obviously, this team they have is very good, but Brendan Rodgers is doing something special there, and I think they are building a very good team. It's just a shame. I don't know how much longer Vardy will last. I mean, he's 34 now, I think, so I don't know how much longer he'll last. So they might be in the market for a striker very soon. But I think they are building a team that maybe in 2 or 3 years' time could be proper title contenders. Do you think that's possible?
Title contenders, I wouldn't say they're there yet. I think once they stabilize themselves as a top four side for a few years, then they can start challenging. Because the thing is, teams like Leicester need to get over the phase of selling their best players at the end of every season. I think once they get over that and players start to recognise Leicester as a top side, and they actually start attracting quality players there themselves, then they can start challenging for the title. But for them, I'd say stabilise themselves as a top four side for now. I hate to do this to you, Ben, but this was a game where United should have capitalised on and extended their points. What happened?
This game affected me more than the Sheffield United game. Obviously, we lost to Sheffield United and we drew this game, but this game affected me more. Whenever we get an opportunity to gain on our rivals, to gain on the teams around us, we always bottle it. And I made a joke the other day saying that we're turning into Spurs with the amount of times we're bottling it. I don't know what it is. We conceded very early on, which just shows our defensive weakness. The fact we can't even hold off 19th place in the league for 2 minutes without conceding. I don't understand how we were set up that badly at the start. But in my opinion, the goal shouldn't have stood. But I'm not going to get into that. But it is annoying to see that we can't take opportunities when they come.
The United squad and managers still seem optimistic about the title, though. You hear Maguire's post-match saying that everything's still to play for. Ole saying that the chase is still on. Is it? I don't think so. I think if City wins their game in hand, it's a 10-point gap, and we're 23 games in or so.
Yeah, it's around 23, 24 games in, but like you said about the post-match interviews, I honestly started laughing when I saw Harry Maguire try to say that we're still in it, but I just don't think he should be captain of a team like United. For one, he's not good enough as a player, but then even the way he was speaking after the game, I'm like, that's not how a captain of a team like Manchester United would speak. I don't see us being in the title race. It wasn't realistic at the start of the season, and it's not realistic now. So to him to try say, and Ollie even to try say that we're still in it, I think they're just getting ahead of themselves. When
did you say shouldn't have been title contenders at the start of the season?
Well, when at the start of the season, when you're looking at the teams there, you wouldn't put Man United in that bracket though.
Ben, let me just check my phone here. Actually, I've got a nice WhatsApp from you. United are going to win the league this season.
Listen. That was after, that was a good 10 games in the season.
Okay.
But if you look at it now, from 10 games in to about 3 or 4 weeks ago, United were in the title race. They weren't that far behind City, but now they've dropped off. They've only picked up 10 of the last 21 available points. So it just shows that they seem to bottle it when they have the chance to gain on the teams above them. So I think it just proves that they're not ready yet for winning a title. They can't deal with the pressure.
So here on the 12th of January, um, Ben, you say not been able to say this in a long time. We are top of the league. Give us the title now because no one is stopping us.
But, like, do you know when you see those messages that you once sent and you're just like, why did I say that? That has to be one of them. I was getting ahead of myself. I mean, think about it. 2013 was our last title. Uh, so I mean, I'm getting my hopes up. I just want to see a United title-winning team again. So I just,
The thing is, I think it was actually from that day onwards United started dropping points.
yeah. Sometimes I think I should just not speak because I seem to be jinxing everything at the moment.
Now, you also mentioned Harry Maguire. A lot of excuses in his post-match interview. Where he was blaming the refs, he was blaming VAR. Was United's performance even good enough if you take away the refereeing factors
No, definitely not. We had
against a struggling West Brom side, right, who are fighting relegation?
exactly. They're 19th in the league. They're like 10 points off safety or something like that. And United had 73% possession in that game, uh, which I think is the most Man United have had in a single game this season. So to have the ball that much and not be able to score more than one goal against a team 10 points off safety in the league, nah, I'm not having it. No matter, even if, like he said, he was trying to blame the referees of the VAR, you can't do that because in the game, when you have 73% of the ball, you're playing second bottom in the league. There's no way that you can come away with that game with only one goal when you're meant to be title contenders or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. That game we should have scored more than one goal for sure. The chances we had, we should have been taking them. It's just a lack of composure in front of goal, which seems to be an issue in the most important games this season or games we should be winning. So I think that his claims after the game are a bit ridiculous. Would you not say?
Yeah, I agree. Bruno with a good goal though.
Again, another goal, a really good goal.
Not against the top six. Yeah, I know.
But I mean, it's another game where he scored a really good goal, worthy of winning a game, and then we still can't win the game. The one against Everton was probably better, but it's another great goal that is in a game where we haven't won. So people are just going to forget about it. They're going to care more about the fact that United are embarrassingly dropping points to West Brom more than the goal itself. So it's a bit of a shame on him, but United just need to get a hold of themselves and think like we should be winning games like this.
So that meant you had to rely on Spurs, right, to get one over City.
Yeah, and again,
But instead we saw Davinson Sanchez eating dust.
that that was very funny. But I mean, it's again, I was trying to rely on other teams to help us, but again, City are just proving why they're top of the league and why they're gonna probably go 10 points clear of second. I mean, I tried to rely on Liverpool last weekend. Then Alisson was a joke. And then I tried to rely on Spurs this weekend, and Davinson Sanchez got sent to the floor by Bernardo Silva. And Gundogan is just continuing his hot streak of form. So I think it's just proving that no one's really going to stop City this season.
You sent me this picture of this guy that has a suspicion that there's this behind the scenes thing with all the betting companies. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah. He was trying to say that the Premier League's corrupt and they have meetings before every match week that will determine the results, so that all these betting companies can like get the better odds to make them the most money. And this guy even predicted that City were going to win the game 3-0, and then that's what happened. So a lot of people are a bit freaked out by it, but I don't think it'll be long before it gets proven wrong.
I don't think he's predicting though. He's acting like he was part of the meeting, or he knows information that took place in the meeting.
Yeah, he's making bold statements. He was saying that City are going to end the season on 87 points. So watch this space. We'll see where they end up at the end of the season. He said it'd be 3-0 and Gundogan would score in the second half. That's what happened. He said that Leicester were going to beat Liverpool 3-1. That's what happened. So it is a bit scary, but I don't know how.
If you think about it, right, Allison with that howler, match fixing, maybe. And then the City game, Gundogan's goal, Ederson, one one long kick and he's through on goal. Davinson Sanchez eats grass. Boom, there, another goal. This guy might be onto something.
And especially with people blaming the officials, and maybe that's got something to do with it as well. It seems to be very weird at the moment with the way things are going. So I think he's going to gain a big following, and people are going to look out for what he says next.
Yeah, for sure. So we touched on Arsenal there. 4-2, decent win, back on track. Some would say we've turned a corner.
Yeah, it was Leeds always provide entertainment. They either someone, I think it was I can't remember who the commentator was, but they said that Leeds are always in a 4-2 game, whether they're winning 4-2 or they're losing 4-2. Whenever Leeds play, there's always goals. But I would say Arsenal did very well that game. Aubameyang getting his first Premier League hat-trick. What do you think about that?
He deserves it after going through some personal issues. I'm happy for him.
Arteta said that he thinks that could be him back to his normal self after, like you said, going through some issues behind the scenes. And Arsenal, with Leeds fight back in the second half, they managed to hold on because there was maybe a 5-minute spell in the game after they scored the second goal where you're thinking if they get one more then it's game on. But I think Arsenal did well to hold on and hold their lead until the end of the game to pick up a really important 3 points, I think, because Leeds is a big game this season for sure.
Yeah, we leapfrogged them actually by winning that game. But bro, I was on the edge of my seat when they scored the second goal. I was like, no, not again, not one of those days.
I mean, you've seen Arsenal lose a 4-goal lead in the past against Newcastle, so I think some people were just hoping that wouldn't happen again, but they did well, yes, the other day even. So I think that Arsenal, you could argue they've turned a corner here, and it'll be interesting to see how they get on the rest of the season, especially if Aubameyang can continue this form now that he's scoring some goals of late and getting a hat-trick against Leeds. So it'll be interesting to see if they can build on that and see where they end at the end of the season.
See, it didn't matter now that we knew it was 4-2, but imagine if Leeds did climb back to 4-4. Imagine the outrage on that penalty decision on Saka.
Yeah, we're always speaking about the officials getting decisions wrong, and I think that was another thing where you're like, it's a clear penalty.
They didn't even show the camera angle that shows the foul. What is that about?
It's ridiculous. They're not even showing a full... They should have a way of getting all the angles from everywhere at all times during VAR, because I think that's another thing that's stopping it. So it's really poor from the VAR and the referee. But you could say they've made up for it by getting the penalty later, but at the end of the day, like you said, if Leeds did come back to 4-4, then that is something you're looking back at saying that's another awful decision that made Arsenal lose points. But I don't know what's going on again with the officials. It's another crazy week, where you're thinking there needs to be change.
But hey, they're just puppeteers or puppets for the betting companies, right? According to your source. So yeah. Who knows?
Okay, so last episode, me and James said we were going to go over European football because it starts again this week. Are you looking forward to it?
I am, because it's our only way into the Champions League this season, so Benfica is a big game for us.
Yeah, that's a big tie. I think, like you said, that's Arsenal's only realistic and more manageable way to get Champions League next season. Do you think it can be a bit nervy, though, because that might be on the back of their minds?
It's a weird setup, though, because neither team is going to be playing in their home stadium. I think the stadiums they chose are in Greece and in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, it'll be different from every other year because it means that both ties are going to be played in neutral ground. So neither team will have an advantage, if you want to say. So I think that it'll be a tough game for both teams because they'll have to adjust to travelling to a different stadium for both games and just having to get used to where they are. And even with the climate, that I think it'll be different because obviously I think the weather in Greece and stuff will be a lot better and the conditions will be different. So it'll be a chance to change. But I think Arsenal, I think they'll be the favourites for the tie, or do you think it might be evenly matched?
No, we're definitely favourites. I'd be very surprised if Benfica even get a draw in either game. I'm just worried that Arteta, for whatever reason, would start resting players for this game. But I'd say, if anything, rest players in the Premier League and treat this Benfica game as our most important. Because, like I said, it's our only route to the Champions League for next season.
Yeah, I think Arsenal would definitely be considered the favourites because I remember looking back at the group stages and Benfica were struggling to beat Rangers, who, don't get me wrong, have done well this season in Scotland, but they're not at the same level as teams like Arsenal. So, but it's just about whether.
Like we said, though, like we said last week, it's going to be very tough to win the Europa League this year. It's got some very good teams in there, I must say.
Yeah, I was looking at the draw earlier, and there's a lot of good teams that are going to be in it, and I think, like I did say this last episode as well, that this is probably going to be the toughest the Europa League's ever been, because there's so many good teams that would be considered Champions Leagues in normality, but because now so many teams are stepping up, that it means not enough teams can make it to the Champions League because of obviously the Europa League's a bigger competition, so it means that there's a lot more good teams in the Europa League than normal. So no matter who you get, I think it's going to be tough. But do you have any team you think would be considered favourites for the Europa League?
I'm going to stick to Arsenal. Very biased, I know. Maybe one of the Milan sides.
Yeah, I mean,
Inter Milan are in the Europa League, right?
I think so. I don't know. They were in the Champions League, so it's whether they finished third in their group or not. I can't quite remember, but AC Milan are definitely in it, and they're sitting at the top of the league in Italy. So I think that they'll be a very, very tough opposition this time around. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I would say they're probably the favourites, or Napoli are in it as well. So I think Napoli could be up there for it. So there's plenty of competition that Arsenal and United are in for a tough one this season, no matter what. But I feel like Man United might prioritise the league more than anything because I think they'll feel comfortable of getting Champions League, being in the top four. So they might end up resting players and try focus on the league. But I think Arsenal will be the opposite. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. How do you think United fare in their tie?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they start prioritising the Europa League. For this match anyway, against Real Sociedad. I'm sure they're a great side, but like you said, United are comfortable in the top four right now in the league, but it would be a massive shock if there'll be an outrage if they drop out of the top four position simply because they started prioritising the Europa League, whether they pick up an injury, maybe to like Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, I think so. The worst case scenario, and it would cause an absolute uproar from the fans if United try prioritise Europa League. They drop out of the top four and then they don't even win the Europa League. So then they've just completely blown the Champions League on two fronts that they had the opportunity to do. But surely they're not gonna think that they can win the Europa League with all the tough teams. I think the sensible option would be to stick with the league to stay in the top four because they will be confident for the Europa League, but I just think with the competition that's there, they need to be more sensible than anything, and especially not to risk injuries to, like you said, like Bruno, because just imagine what would happen to United if Bruno got injured.
Yeah, an exciting lineup though for the Champions League games. We have first up Barcelona versus Paris Saint-Germain. Who you got your bets on?
This season, the way that things are going for both clubs, I see PSG getting through this one. Barcelona are going through some tough times at the minute. They're not the same team as they were even 2 seasons ago. They're having all these issues with Messi over his contract, with the ridiculous money that they pay to him.
No Suarez.
Exactly, no Suarez, who's been on fire for Atletico, and I just think that they can't just rely on Messi to get them through, and I don't think the team they have at the moment is good enough to to win the Champions League for sure. And with PSG having Neymar and Mbappe, and then with Pochettino now that they have as manager, I think PSG will be a team to look out for in the Champions League this season, and I think they'll get through. What do you think?
Were you gonna say Neymar, Mbappe, Cavani there?
I
As your
almost
front
said
three?
I almost said Cavani, forgetting that he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But
Icardi now. He's alright. He's doing well.
yeah, he's not doing too bad. So I mean, looking at their options up top, they're going to be very dangerous. So do you think they'll go through as well, or do you think Barca can still sneak through?
I do think PSG have this one. And this will just, if anything, prove why Barca is struggling so much recently. Yes, they've managed to keep Messi, but he doesn't seem to be himself. Although just last weekend he scored an amazing goal outside the box, but the team just hasn't been clicking. So I'd back PSG for this game. So next up we have Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid. Interesting one, because I remember Atletico Madrid doing one over Liverpool. Was it last season?
No, it was last season. In the quarterfinals, I think maybe, or something like that. So, and this season, I would say they've improved as well. So I think this will be an exciting tie, and this might be the first real test for Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's his first real test. Just as we're speaking, he's managed to squeeze a goal out of Timo Werner. Is that right?
Yeah, the guy that's been scared to score almost. He's finally got himself a goal. I think it was a scruffy one, but I don't think he'll care one bit. I think he'll just be a relieved man to finally get back on the score sheet. This could be a chance for him to hit some form, but I think in the Champions League against a team like Atletico, I think they will struggle to score against them because Simeone, he's a good manager for setting up teams defensively. So it'll be a tough tie, but I don't know. Who do you think will get through this one? It's a tough one to call, I think.
I'm going for Atletico this one. They're on a flyer in La Liga right now. I think Chelsea, with the gaps they have in defensively, they're there for the taking.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to. They've been using the new system under Thomas Tuchel, but I still think that I think it's too early to really challenge in like a European competition. Yeah, I think he'll need more time to get around his team, and he might even need a transfer window to get the players he wants in as well. So I think this one will be Atletico as well. I think the way they are in the Liga this season, I think they're comfortable enough at the top that they can still play first choice players in this game, that they don't have to worry about resting as much, because I think they're a class above Real Madrid and Barcelona this season. I still think that they'll go through, and I think it could be a PSG Atletico Madrid final personally. So
Are they playing in their own stadiums? Are you aware?
I don't think so, because I think Spain are another country that they don't want anyone coming in. So I think they've had to, because I think the Man United and Real Sociedad is in neutral grounds too. So I think a lot of these ties actually are going to be played in neutral grounds elsewhere. So it's gonna be a very different competition than what we're used to. But I think it'll be an exciting one.
Any specific scoreline predictions? I'd go for overall aggregate. I'd say PSG. I'm gonna say 4, Barca 1.
For that one, I think it will be. So we're talking aggregate score, yeah. I think 5-2 to PSG here. I think they'll score most of their goals in the first leg. I think they'll really punish them. But yeah, I think 5-2 to PSG.
With the Chelsea Atletico one, I'm gonna go for 3-0 on aggregate to Atletico.
That sounds
We
good.
can come back to this next week and see how we do. We could be completely wrong. Let's find out.
Yeah, we'll see how we do. I think this one will be close. I think there won't be many goals overall. I think it will be 2-1 to Atletico over both legs.
I don't think Chelsea are going to get a single goal.
I think maybe with if they play Giroud, I think he'll be vital if they get any set plays or corners or anything like that. I think he could nick a goal if he's playing, but they won't score more than one, though, I don't think, with the way Atletico can set up. So it'll be close, though. I think it'll only be 2-1 over the two legs. So
All right. Up next, Liverpool against Leipzig. Two counter-attacking teams, eh?
yeah, I like the way the Leipzig set up. I think their manager Nagelsmann. I think he's a very exciting manager to look at. He's very young still. He's only in his 30s. He's done really well with this Leipzig team. Even losing Werner in the summer last year, they're still doing really well. They managed to beat Man United in the group stages, and I think Liverpool. I think they're going to struggle still because they seem to be really low on confidence at the moment, especially if Alisson, who was crucial to them last season, getting the league title and stuff. So I think Leipzig could actually it might be a surprise to some, but I think Leipzig will go through on this one. What do you think?
I think one of the two games will be a Leipzig win, but I think Liverpool are going to have it in the end. I'd go for Liverpool 5, Leipzig 2.
I think it'll be Leipzig 3, Liverpool 2. I think it'll be very close, but they just need to they'll need to fix up at the back if they want to go through. But the way the things are going at the moment, I see Leipzig going through.
Yeah, Liverpool looking very shaky at the moment. Do you reckon he'd start Alisson? Who's their backup again? It's
I think he's called.
I was gonna say Mignolet there.
Well, they they have Adrian who he never really made a difference when he played.
He looks so uncomfortable on the ball, Adrian.
I think he's. If I was at Adrian, I'd be surprised him even at a club like Liverpool because he wasn't even first choice at West Ham because of Fabianski. So yeah, I think it's a bit funny that he managed to get moved to Liverpool. But I think they have to start Alisson. I'm not confident in the other Liverpool keepers that they have. So no matter what, I think they have to play Alisson, and I think he will play himself out this bad run that he's on at the moment eventually. So they just have to stick with him, remain confident in him. Because if they lose confidence in him, then I think that'll just make him crumble even more. So they have to be there to trust in him, and I think he'll come through it.
As a keeper, you lose confidence. It could be career over. Like Karius wasn't even that bad when he came in, but like after his mistakes in the Champions League final.
Yeah, it was a final. Yeah, he cost Liverpool the final. It is.
Yeah,
I think
I remember that game actually, and Bale scored was an overhead kick, and to be fair, that one wasn't even savable.
Yeah, that one was unsavable for any keeper. But he made two big mistakes with a Bale shot from long range, and then he threw the ball right to Benzema. But I think goalkeeper can probably be one of the worst positions to play in football because if you make even one little mistake, it can cost teams points or even titles or even Champions Leagues like we saw with Karius. So I think goalkeepers go through the toughest times at certain moments in their careers because their mental health can go up and down like crazy with what they do in the games because they can literally cost, like I said, teams titles or Champions League. So I would hate to be a goalkeeper myself, just the amount of pressure that's on you.
You look at Kepa Arrizabalaga though, world's most expensive keeper, bought for I think 72 million, struggling to come back into the Chelsea side. I don't even think he's ever gonna get moved back into the first team, and that just goes to show how confidence within a keeper goes a long way.
Yeah, I think he needs to go back to when he was playing under Sarri when he was forcing himself to stay on. Remember when he was meant to get subbed in a cup game and he actually told Sarri no and actually stayed on the pitch. But looking at him now, he just doesn't seem happy at all. He doesn't seem in a good place, and I don't see him coming back into the team. I think Mendy is a better keeper than him, and unless Mendy does something like Karius level mistake, then I don't see a reason why he would have to drop Mendy at all. So,
do you remember Arsenal against Chelsea when Saka like chipped Mendy.
Yeah.
And it hits the post, and then there's this picture of Mendy looking back at his goal with that kind of face.
I think, but maybe I don't think Saka meant that though. I think it was a cross.
Who knows? He says it's a shot.
But I think it's one of the worst things to get chipped by a keeper, and because I think he was hoping that the post would come to his rescue, but I think that was one that's a bit harsh on him to blame him on. I think it was more just the class of Saka, that goal. But going back to keepers, I mean, Kepa, is it worth him trying to move away again? But I mean, with the price tag he had going to Chelsea, it's like, who could he actually go to?
I don't even think he's worth 25 million.
It's I feel bad for the guy in all honesty, because he's still young as well. I think he's only 24, so I don't know what's next for him.
Young for a keeper, very young for a keeper.
Exactly, keepers can go till, I mean, Buffon's like over 40, and he's still playing, so they can last a very long time. I'm sure he'll still make a career of himself, but he's very, very low on confidence. I think even a loan move would do him good to just get a run of games in, get some confidence back. And then even after that, then he could come back into Tuchel's plans. But
maybe Tuchel can get the best out of him.
Yeah, I mean, if Werner of late, although he's only just scored in the last game, but even Werner's overall play under Tuchel's improved. And I think the same will be with Havertz. So I think this is a great opportunity for players like Kepa as well, who are low on confidence, or anyone low on confidence at Chelsea. It's like almost a fresh start that Tuchel can help get the best out of certain players like that.
Yeah, for sure. But I'll be rooting for Arsenal on the Thursday, and I'm sure you'll be watching the United game on the Thursday as well against Real Sociedad.
Of course, I'll be following that closely. I'm interested in the team he'll select, but of course, I'll be wanting them to go as far as they can. But I'm excited for all this European football coming up.
Hey, Arsenal United in the final, who knows?
That would be good to watch, I have to say. I'd be interested in that.
But I think that's us again for this episode. Anything else you'd like to cover?
No, I think we've go over it. Let's just come back next week and see if our predictions were right on these Champions League games.
Yeah, is that guy still posting on Twitter, by the way? The guy who thinks the betting companies are fixing all the games. I'd be interested to see what he thinks about the European matches.
I'll follow it closely, and I'll come back next week if he says anything.
Alright, you can update us next Wednesday. Alright, anyways, that's all from us here today on the Football Draft podcast. You've been joined today by James and Ben.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify and YouTube, and be sure to look out every Wednesday for our new episodes.
You heard the man. Feel free to leave any feedback on our third episode. Like, share, subscribe or follow if you're on Spotify, and see you guys later.
See you next week.